Welcome to the NCGA Valent Ag Weather Outlook for January 21st, 2017. Hope everybody's had a great week. Okay, this can be the most active time of the year. A lot of times with very vigorous weather systems moving through with snow and lots of temperature fluctuations. The coldest day of the year is now past. I'll show you an image that shows that in just a second. Snow is still not expanding. Now, if you're in North Dakota, you're thinking, what the heck? It's lots of snow up there in surrounding states, Minnesota, parts of Wisconsin, but it really hasn't expanded all that much, and many areas have less snow than normal. Now, these late winter patterns, how they set up, are very important. I'm going to be watching soil moisture closely. If we start to get very saturated soils late in the winter, that can give us problems in early spring. So this is really important. We want the right amount of soil moisture. So here's the midpoint of winter, and you can sort of see after January 25th, we've hit all these colors here, so we're sort of past in most areas here, if not everything. It looks like sort of December here, January here. Yep, we're pretty much, for most areas, just the very last is right up here, and it looks like pretty much the entire nation now is on an upswing. Temperatures should very slowly start to moderate as far as a climatological or historical standing. Over the last 7 days, it was very active, mainly in the form of rain. We had milder temperatures, very heavy rain around Houston. You might have heard about the severe flash flooding. Moderate rain further up to the north. A bit of snow here and there, but for the most part, over the last week, it was rainfall. Now take a look at the Ohio River area. We had 2 inches of rain, and rivers are responding in that area. So when we look at departure from normal here, you see the extremely heavy rain, 3 to 4 inches more than normal over the south central U.S. Over the Midwest, for the most part, we had maybe up to a ½ inch to an inch more precipitation than needed. Take a look at this area right here. There was not much precipitation in this area, and I think I'm going to show you something here in a minute. This is the area I'd like to see a little bit more rainfall in that area. Now the snow is still on the ground, but it's been melting. Temperatures, I sent out the snow report this week. You might have noticed that even in this area here, daytime highs have been getting up above freezing, so we've been gradually reducing that. If you have a good memory, you might remember that last week I had a lot darker shades of blue in this area, and now it's getting more into this medium. So it's sort of going from this range down into this range here. So we're beginning to melt some of that snow. I call that a managed snow melt because we want daytime high temperatures above normal, nighttime lows to freeze, so gradually work the snow water equivalent down a bit. And you can see right now it's still melting along the southern edges. That's indicated in orange, not so much over the upper plains here, so that period might be gradually coming to an end, but at least we reduce some of the snow in that area. Now my opening thoughts, this is what I wanted to show you. All this area here in red right now from a weekly snow average is reporting less than normal snow on the ground. The areas in green more than normal. So for the Midwest, North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, Wisconsin, above normal amounts of snow, especially South Dakota when we compare it to normal. Everywhere else along across the Corn Belt, we have less snow than normal so far this year. So that could be good and bad. From a good standpoint, if you don't like snow, well, there you go. But what I look at this as winter snow, winter precipitation is very important in keeping our soils recharged. And that can be a little warning sign that if we don't get the rain, that could be a problem. So last week was mild. Like I said, most of the precipitation came in the form of rain rather than snow. You can see temperatures were above normal over a large part of the eastern half of the U.S., and that's going to gradually be changing. Before I get into that, let's look at soil moisture. And this is that area that I said that I'd like to see more precipitation. This is yellow. This is saying soils are drier than normal. Now, what I want to see as we get into late winter, early spring, I want to see a modest amount, a surplus of soil moisture. That's ideal the way I look at it. So I'd be looking at this light green, maybe moderate green. If we get up here dark green or blue, like right in here, that's unusually wet. That's when we start getting our problems. So right now, most of the Corn Belt is in pretty good shape. There's some localized areas with wet soils. There's some areas that are a bit dry. We have a long way to go that can change. So this is a snapshot very early, but I don't see anything way out of the ordinary at this point in time. Now, rivers are running quite active, especially tributaries in parts of Indiana with minor flooding. That's the orange boxes. We have some ice jam flooding on the upper Mississippi at a few locations. So rivers are running a bit high here and there, but for the most part, this is not unexpected for the middle of winter. Now, I haven't showed the Arctic Oscillation for a while. This is a oscillation that can give us some idea as far as temperatures, and this is the forecast here, and it's forecast to go positive, but then we get a trend down negative, and that's giving some hint of maybe some colder air pushing in. So now this week, we look at the jet stream. We have sort of an unusual pattern of ridge or bulging north of the jet stream over the far northeast U.S., and then gradually this sinking of the jet stream. And why do I say sinking? Because it's blue. That's saying it's lower than normal over the western U.S. So we're going to have some colder air pushing into the west, and you can see that this week for our 5-day temperature average. Above normal temperatures over the eastern U.S., and that'll probably be changing because we are going to have a front come through. This is just the first 5-day average, and this is the storm track. This is on Sunday. This is on Thursday. So with each one of these, we're going to have a bit more cooler or colder air filtering in, getting us back towards normal temperatures. This is too far out here. I wouldn't get too worried about this snow yet. This is on Thursdays. That's way out there. That could change. But this is the weekend. This is on Sunday. It looks pretty wet again. And that's going to be moving over areas that are already quite wet. So we definitely are going to get a situation where our soils are being replenished. And I know I keep in contact with a viewer in Ohio, and he was talking about going into the winter with such dry conditions. Well, hopefully this is helping recharge conditions in Ohio. So here's your precipitation forecast. For the next 7 days, most of the heavy rain will be over the southeast U.S., and I'm going to put out something this week to talk about the drought. I like to put that out every 2 to 3 weeks, and I want to really show you the tremendous improvement over areas that needed it, the western U.S. and the southeast U.S. We've pretty much eliminated drought over both of these areas. Still need more rain over northern Alabama and northern Georgia, but we're getting another several inches with this, so I would call this a tremendous improvement over areas that really needed additional rain. So as far as this week goes, over the Corn Belt, it looks like just a band of more moderate type snow, light to moderate snow associated with the cold air filtering in. This is the latest model. This is saying it'd be over South Dakota into southern parts of Minnesota. If this does materialize, this would again increase the anomaly over South Dakota, and I think we'd be getting a situation where South Dakota would have a greater anomaly as far as excess snow on the ground than even North Dakota. Not more snow, but just an anomaly. Elsewhere, nothing all that significant as far as snowfall goes over the Midwest. Now, as we get into the 6 to 10 day range here, we start to get the western U.S., a gradual building of that ridge of high pressure. This is actually January 26th. I got to get into the habit of changing these titles. I know sometimes I put the graphic in there. I don't change it. This is January 26th through the 31st. So this is the end of January, 6 to 10 day. And you can still see we have that digging trough over the eastern U.S. And what that results in is gradually pulling some of this cold air out. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you here, let's go back to here. Where is the polar vortex here? We really don't have a strong polar circulation. This air sort of has come in sort of from this direction over the first 5 days, but I don't see a strong polar vortex. So as far as this air goes, it might not be the most unusually cold air. It's going to be back to winter, but I don't necessarily see this being extremely cold air. And if we get into the 6 to 10 day range here, you can see it's already modified. It's been cut off. And then as we get further out, this is January 31st into early February, we still have some signs of this here. So I think we're going to have some transitions in temperature. And then if we look at the temperature again, back to cold. So I think the temperatures are going to really be variable as we go through the next 15 days. We're going to be starting out quite mild. Then we're going to be getting some colder air pushing in back towards seasonal normals or below normal, then perhaps a modification, and then back to some colder than normal. So that's sort of typical for winter, this variable, but it might not be an extremely cold. These temperatures here, if you look at it, about 2 to 5 degrees below normal, not like we had earlier this winter when we were talking about 15 to 20 degrees below normal. So as far as precipitation goes, here's this week 1. You can see no real big widespread areas of green, so we're not looking at widespread precipitation. Those little pockets of green over the Midwest here, that's indicating that band of snow. Week 2 right now looks quite quiet. I see a lot of yellow over the area, and that's indicating below normal precipitation. So really, it's been fairly quiet. We've not had many of these classic panhandle hooks or Alberta clippers. We just have not had all that much as far as strong winter storms so far. Now, weeks 3 and 4, let's just take a look at what the outlooks are saying that for the most part, temperatures on the left, the coldest air remains entrenched like we've seen the pattern of the winter. This right here is actually the story of winter so far. The coldest air sort of remains over here. It occasionally pushes to the east and then pulls back. Precipitation looks like it's fairly quiet as we get into week 3. So I think the trends, after a break, some milder weather, winter returns. As far as temperatures go, not so much precipitation. There'll be some snow in spots, but overall it looks like it's pretty quiet as far as snow goes. There will be some fairly widespread rain with the transition. I hope you all have a great week. I like hearing from you. I had a few people contact me last week. You have my email if you ever want to report your conditions. If you want something else you need me to talk about, let me know. If you like something I'm talking about, let me know too so I can focus on that. Have a great week.